My name is Karen. When I speak that name, I still hear it in my mother's voice calling us in from the backyard on summer evenings. Karen. Kristen. Dinner's ready. And we'd come running, barefoot, laughing, always hand in hand. We were born identical on a quiet September morning in 1995 in a suburban hospital outside Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Kristen arrived 7 minutes after me. The nurse told Mom I cried first, as if announcing it was safe for my sister to follow. From that very first moment, we were never truly separate. People said we were like mirror images. Same soft brown hair that curled at the ends, same hazel eyes that changed color with our moods, same little freckle on our left collarbone. But it was more than looks. It was deeper. If Kristen had a fever, I'd wake up hot and restless. If I fell and scraped my knee, she'd start crying before she even saw the blood. Mom used to watch us playing in the sandbox and whisper to Dad, "They're one soul living in two little bodies. God broke the mold and made them twice." Our childhood was ordinary in the best way. Dad worked as an accountant, Mom was a school secretary. We lived in a brick ranch house with a big maple tree in the front yard. Summers smelled of cut grass and charcoal from weekend barbecues. Winters smelled of hot chocolate and wet mittens drying on the radiator. Every Christmas, Mom made us matching pajamas. Every birthday, we shared one cake with 2 names written in frosting. We did everything together. Same dance classes, same Girl Scout troop, same bedroom with twin beds pushed together so we could talk after lights out. When we were 8, we made a blood oath, pricked our fingers with a sewing needle, and pressed them together. Sisters forever, we whispered. Nothing will ever come between us. Then, when we were 20, the world ended. It was a Tuesday in February. Black ice on I-94. A semi-truck. The state trooper at our door said words I couldn't process. I remember dropping the phone. I remember walking up the stairs like I was underwater. Kristen was folding laundry, humming an old Disney song. She turned, saw my face, and the basket fell from her hands. We met in the hallway and sank to the carpet together, holding each other as the truth crushed us. We buried Mom and Dad on a gray, freezing day. I held Kristen's hand so tightly her fingers went white. That night, we slept in their bed, surrounded by their smell, Dad's aftershave, Mom's lavender lotion, crying until there were no tears left. From then on, it was just us. I took over everything. Paid the mortgage with 3 jobs. Made sure Kristen finished college. Cooked her favorite meals even when I was exhausted. She tried to help, but I wouldn't let her carry too much. I'm the big sister, I'd say. 7 minutes older means 7 minutes stronger. She'd roll her eyes and smile, but I saw the gratitude in her eyes. We healed slowly. Movie nights with blankets and ice cream. Long drives with the windows down singing off-key to old songs. We became each other's whole world. Then Kristen met Kevin. He seemed like everything we'd been taught to want. 32, successful insurance executive, owned a beautiful house in the suburbs with granite counters and a 3-car garage. He golfed on weekends, wore pressed khakis, brought flowers on first dates. When Kristen talked about him, her voice lit up in a way I hadn't heard since we were teenagers. "He makes me feel safe, Karen," she said one night over wine. "Like I'm finally home." I wanted to believe it. God, I wanted to believe it for her. The wedding was everything Pinterest dreams are made of. Country club ballroom, pale pink roses, string quartet playing our parents' favorite song as Kristen walked down the aisle. She was radiant in her lace gown. When she reached me in the front row, she squeezed my hand and mouthed, "I love you." I smiled through happy tears, thinking maybe the universe was finally giving us something good. But monsters don't always show their teeth at first. It started small. Little comments I dismissed. Kevin says I talk too much. Kevin doesn't like when I wear that dress. Kevin thinks we spend too much time together. I told myself it was normal newlywed adjusting. Then the calls stopped. The visits became rare. When we did meet for coffee, Kristen wore turtlenecks in summer. Long sleeves always. She flinched at loud voices. Her laugh sounded hollow. I asked. She denied. I asked again. She changed the subject. Then came the night I'll carry to my grave. It was December 12th, just before Christmas. Snow coming down hard outside my apartment window. 1:42 a.m. Frantic pounding at my door woke me from a restless sleep. I opened it and the world stopped spinning. Kristen stood there in the hallway light, soaked from snow, face barely recognizable. Lips split open and bleeding. Left eye swollen completely shut. Dark purple fingerprints circling her throat like a brutal necklace. She was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. For one terrifying second I didn't know her. Then she whispered the word that broke me. Karen. And she collapsed into my arms. I caught her. I always catch her. We sank to the cold hallway floor together. She sobbed into my chest with sounds no human should make. Deep, guttural, animal sounds of pure agony. I rocked her like Mom rocked us when we had nightmares, stroking her wet hair. Feeling every sob rip through my own body. When she could finally speak, the words came in shattered pieces between gasps. He said I embarrassed him at his company party. Called me worthless, pathetic. I dropped a wine glass and he snapped. Grabbed my throat against the wall. I couldn't breathe, Karen. I really thought, this time he wouldn't stop. I held her tighter, rage and grief exploding inside me until I thought my heart would burst. But I swallowed it all. Carried her inside. Wrapped her in Mom's old quilt. Made hot chocolate with extra marshmallows because that's what we drank when we were little and scared. We stayed up until dawn. She told me everything. How the abuse started 6 months after the wedding. How the apologies always came with flowers and promises. How each time it got worse. How he controlled her phone, her friends, her money. How he threatened to ruin her if she left. Every word was a knife in my chest. Every bruise on her body felt burned into my own skin. As morning light crept through the blinds, Kristen finally fell asleep against my shoulder, exhausted. I sat there staring at the wall, tears streaming silently down my face, and made a vow that came from the deepest part of my soul. Kevin will pay for every tear you've cried. He will feel every ounce of pain he gave you. And I will make sure of it. The weeks that followed were the darkest of my life. Kristen barely ate, barely spoke. Night terrors dragged her screaming from sleep. Please don't. Kevin, stop. And I'd run to her, hold her shaking body until she realized where she was. It's me, Chris. I'd whisper over and over. It's your Karen. You're safe. But she wasn't safe. Not while he walked free. Guilt ate me alive. How had I missed the signs? Why hadn't I pushed harder when she started pulling away? How could I, her protector since the day she was born, have let this monster into her life? She carried guilt too. Maybe if I'd been better, quieter, more obedient, she'd whisper in the dark, and each word felt like acid poured on my heart. I'd take her face in my hands and say fiercely through tears, no, listen to me. This is not your fault. You are perfect exactly as you are. He is the one who's broken. We tried everything the right way. Police reports, photos of her injuries, tearful statements at the station while I held her hand under the table, support groups, restraining order attempts. But Kevin had money, lawyers, connections from years of golfing with judges and police captains. Evidence mysteriously disappeared. Witnesses changed stories. The case was dropped for insufficient evidence. He sent flowers, white lilies, Kristen's favorite, with cards that read, I'm getting help. Come home, sweetheart. I can't live without you. She'd stare at them with empty eyes until I took them and burned them in the sink while she cried into my arms. One night in early January, the helplessness became unbearable. We were sitting on my couch wrapped in the same blanket, snow falling silently outside the window. Kristen was tracing the faint scars on her wrist with one finger, her face pale and drawn. I don't know how to keep living like this, she whispered, voice barely audible. Those words broke something inside me. Tears flooded my eyes. Chris, I can't breathe knowing he's out there sleeping peacefully while you're drowning in pain. I can't do nothing anymore. She looked at me, eyes red-rimmed. What can we do, Karen? He's too powerful. Then it hit me like lightning from a clear sky. I took her cold hands in mine. We're identical, down to the last freckle. No one has ever been able to tell us apart. Not Mom, not Dad, not even our high school teachers. What if I become you? Her breath caught sharply. No. Hear me out, I said, voice trembling with both fear and determination. I go to Kevin's house pretending to be you. You stay here safe hidden. I live his daily routine. Let him think his scared little wife has come crawling back. And while I'm there, I gather proof. Real undeniable proof. Hidden cameras catching the abuse. Recordings of his threats. Access to his office files showing whatever shady deals he's hiding. When we have enough to bury him forever, I leave. And we destroy him. Legally, publicly, completely. Terror flooded her face. He'll hurt you. If he even suspects for a second. I pulled her into my arms, both of us crying now. I'd walk through fire for you, Kristen. I'd burn 1,000 times before letting him hurt you again. Remember our blood oath? Sisters forever. This is me keeping that promise with everything I have. She fought the idea for days. Sobbing. Begging. Terrified of losing me too. But beneath the fear, I saw something else growing. A tiny spark of hope. The same spark we'd found in each other after Mom and Dad died. Finally, one afternoon when the snow had stopped and weak sunlight filtered through the clouds, she looked at me with tears streaming down her face and nodded. Okay, she whispered. But you promise. You get out at the first sign of real danger. Promise me, Karen. I promise, I said, pulling her into the tightest hug we'd shared since childhood. We spent the next 2 weeks planning like our lives depended on it. Because they did. Kristen drew detailed maps of Kevin's house from memory. The kitchen where he'd thrown plates at her head. The master bedroom where the worst violence happened. The locked home office hiding his secrets. She described his routines down to the minute. Wakes at 6:15 for coffee, oat milk, 2 sugars. Gym by 7. Work calls starting at 8:30. Home by 6:45 expecting dinner ready. Bourbon beginning at 8 p.m. sharp. His triggers. Questioning his phone. Wearing revealing clothes, any hint of independence. Mentioning me too often. I practiced being Kristen until I became her. Hours in front of the mirror perfecting her softer voice. Her nervous hair twirl when anxious. The way she apologized even when she'd done nothing wrong. Her small, hopeful smile that broke my heart every time I saw it in the glass. We filmed each other on our phones. Compared side by side until even we got confused who was who. I ordered discreet spy gear online. A necklace with a hidden 4K camera, a smartwatch that recorded audio, tiny SD cards, encrypted cloud storage. We role-played worst-case scenarios until we were emotionally drained. What if he asks about a memory only Kristen would know? She quizzed me relentlessly on their honeymoon details. What if his mother visits? Practice polite, submissive responses. Every night of preparation ended the same way. Both of us crying in each other's arms. Whispering childhood memories to remind ourselves why we were fighting. The day I left, Kristen dressed in my clothes and stayed locked inside with the curtains drawn. I wore her favorite soft sweater, spritzed her perfume, lavender and vanilla, slid on her wedding ring that felt like ice against my skin. At the door, we held each other like we were drowning. I love you more than anything in this world, she sobbed into my neck. I love you forever and always, I whispered back, memorizing the feel of her in my arms. This ends soon. Then we heal. Together. I stepped out into the cold February air, snow crunching under my boots. Heart pounding so hard I thought it might break my ribs. I was walking into hell, wearing my sister's face. The first moment back in Kevin's house felt like stepping into a beautiful prison. The doorman greeted Kristen warmly. The elevator's mirrored walls showed my perfect impersonation. Kevin opened the door with tears in his eyes and arms wide open. Baby, you came back, he said, voice thick with emotion. I've been lost without you. He pulled me into a hug that was too tight, his expensive cologne choking me. I hugged back softly, murmured the words Kristen would say. I missed you too. While inside I was steel and ice. That first night, he played the perfect remorseful husband. Ordered her favorite Thai takeout. We filmed each other on our phones, compared side by side until even we got confused who was who. I ordered discreet spy gear online. A necklace with a hidden 4K camera, a smartwatch that recorded audio, tiny SD cards, encrypted cloud storage. We role-played worst-case scenarios until we were emotionally drained. What if he asks about a memory only Kristen would know? She quizzed me relentlessly on their honeymoon details. What if his mother visits? Practice polite, submissive responses. Every night of preparation ended the same way. Both of us crying in each other's arms, whispering childhood memories to remind ourselves why we were fighting. The day I left, Kristen dressed in my clothes and stayed locked inside with the curtains drawn. I wore her favorite soft sweater, spritzed her perfume, lavender and vanilla, slid on her wedding ring that felt like ice against my skin. At the door, we held each other like we were drowning. "I love you more than anything in this world," she sobbed into my neck. "I love you forever and always," I whispered back, memorizing the feel of her in my arms. "This ends soon. Then we heal. Together." I stepped out into the cold February air, snow crunching under my boots, heart pounding so hard I thought it might break my ribs. I was walking into hell, wearing my sister's face. The first moment back in Kevin's house felt like stepping into a beautiful prison. The doorman greeted Kristen warmly. The elevator's mirrored walls showed my perfect impersonation. Kevin opened the door with tears in his eyes and arms wide open. "Baby, you came back," he said, voice thick with emotion. "I've been lost without you." He pulled me into a hug that was too tight, his expensive cologne choking me. I hugged back softly, murmured the words Kristen would say. "I missed you too," while inside I was steel and ice. That first night, he played the perfect remorseful husband. Ordered her favorite Thai takeout. Apologized over and over. Promised therapy, promised change, promised the moon. I smiled, nodded, activated the hidden necklace camera. By 10 p.m., the mask began to slip. One bourbon became 3. A work email frustrated him. He started with words. "You always make everything harder." Then escalated to grabbing my arm hard enough to bruise. I cried on cue, exactly like Kristen would. The watch recorded every word, every grip, every threat whispered in my ear. "You're nothing without me." I endured. The days blurred into a carefully choreographed nightmare. Mornings, Kevin would wake affectionate, kiss my forehead, leave for work. I'd wait until the garage door closed, then search. Picking locks with hairpins Kristen had taught me, photographing shady insurance contracts, emails showing fraud, kickbacks, embezzlement from client accounts. Afternoons. His mother Barbara would often drop by unannounced with her designer purse and judgmental eyes. "Kristen, dear, you look tired. Kevin works so hard providing this lifestyle. The least you can do is keep yourself presentable." I'd record every enabling word, every subtle dig that made Kristen feel small for years. Evenings, dinner had to be perfect and on time. If it was late by 5 minutes, the storm came. Insults first, useless, pathetic. "Lucky I put up with you." Then physical, slaps, shoves, once dragging me across the marble floor by my hair. I provoked carefully when needed, asking innocent questions about his day to draw out confessions on camera. Every bruise on my body became evidence. Every threat recorded became ammunition. Nights were the worst. When the bourbon hit hardest, the real monster emerged. One particularly brutal evening, he pinned me against the bedroom wall, hand around my throat, screaming about imagined infidelity. My vision blurred at the edges. For one terrifying moment, I thought he wouldn't stop. But the necklace captured everything. His red face, the pressure of his fingers, his snarled words. "You leave me, and I'll make sure you disappear." I locked myself in the bathroom afterward, knees to chest on the cold tile, silently crying while transferring files to the cloud. Then I'd message Kristen from the secret phone. "Got strong evidence tonight. I'm okay. I love you. Dream of us as kids tonight." She'd reply with heart emojis and voice notes of her whispering our childhood lullaby. There were close calls that aged me years. One night, Kevin grabbed my face and stared hard. "You seem different lately." My blood turned to ice. But I laughed nervously, exactly like Kristen, and said, "I'm just stressed from everything." He bought it, but smashed a glass against the wall instead. More evidence. Another time, he found one of my decoy devices I'd planted, screamed about betrayal, destroyed it. I cried convincingly while secretly rejoicing, proof of his paranoid rage. The toll on my body and soul was immense. I lost weight, barely slept, had my own nightmares now, reliving Kristen's stories in first person. Woke up gasping, checking for bruises that were now mine. But every mark on my skin fueled my determination. Every recorded threat hardened my resolve. Kristen's daily messages kept me alive. You're the bravest person I know. Remember when we built that fort in the backyard? I'm proud to be your sister. After 7 endless weeks, I had everything. Hundreds of hours of abuse footage, financial fraud documents worth millions, threatening texts, witness statements from neighbors who'd heard screams. Kevin was unraveling, drinking more, paranoid, violent. His work was suffering. Rumors were starting. It was time. One morning when he left early for a golf game, I packed a small bag with only what I'd come with. Left a note in Kristen's handwriting. I can't do this anymore. Goodbye. And walked out forever. I took a taxi straight to our apartment. When Kristen opened the door and saw me, we collapsed into each other's arms on the floor, sobbing with relief and joy and everything we'd held inside for months. We stayed like that for hours, holding each other, crying, laughing, crying again, touching each other's faces to make sure we were real. Then we got to work, made multiple encrypted backups of everything, created anonymous email accounts, sent packages to the local police domestic violence unit, the FBI tip line for financial crimes, every major news station in the state, Kevin's company board of directors, women's shelters across the Midwest, posted carefully edited clips online, faces blurred, voices altered, with titles like Suburban Monster Exposed. The fallout was biblical. Within 48 hours, Kevin was arrested at his office, handcuffed in front of stunned colleagues as cameras flashed. Charges piled up. Multiple counts of assault, strangulation, fraud, embezzlement. The videos went viral. Millions of views. #Justice for Kristen trended nationwide. Women came forward with their own stories about similar men. His company collapsed. Assets frozen. The beautiful house foreclosed. Barbara gave a tearful interview disowning him to save face. In court, our evidence was overwhelming. Kristen got an immediate divorce, full settlement, that he couldn't pay, permanent restraining order. Kevin got 12 years minimum. No parole for the violent charges. He tried once to reach us, showed up at my apartment looking broken, begging on his knees for forgiveness. We recorded everything, then called the police. Now 2 years later, Kristen and I live together in a small house we bought with the settlement. Sunlit rooms, garden and back, wind chimes on the porch. We started a foundation called One Soul, helping abuse survivors with legal aid, therapy, safe housing. We speak at events, sharing parts of our story, names changed, giving other women the courage we found together. Every evening we sit on our porch swing, the same kind we had as kids, drinking tea and watching sunsets. Sometimes we don't speak at all. We just hold hands and breathe together. Some nights, when storms come, we still crawl into one bed like after Mom and Dad died. We still whisper our childhood promises into the dark. Because some things never change. We are still one soul in 2 bodies. We are still sisters forever. And no one, no monster, no tragedy, no amount of pain, will ever come between us. Extended closing for narrator. 10 to 15 minutes of slow reflection. If you're listening to this and you're hurting, if you're scared, if you feel alone, please remember Kristen and Karen. Remember that love like ours exists. That there are people who would walk through fire for you. That you are worthy of safety, of peace, of joy. You are never alone. Reach out. Speak up. There is help waiting. There is hope. And to every sister, every friend, every protector out there, thank you for carrying the ones you love when they can't walk alone. Love wins. Always.